From Lusaka, this is my house, the most important TV show in Zambia. I am Jackson Dimas Piri. Earlier this week, I saw social scientist Mr. Innocent Kolala comment on revelations by the Opposition Patriotic Front Acting Secretary General Mr. Nixon Chilangwa that the Central Committee is waiting for the ongoing consultations with former President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, also known as ECL, who they feel should come back and lead the party.
We need a strong opposition in this country who should be giving proper checks and balances to the ruling political party. And the Zambian people, they had faith in Patriotic Front, being among one of those which is a big political party. But with what is going on, this definitely is taking now Patriotic Front into oblivion, because thinking of bringing back ECL, the former Republican president, Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, I think this will be the worst of its kind, because Zambian people, about 1 million plus, rejected ECL. And how do you expect the 1 million plus who rejected ACL to come and rescind their thinking, to come and give him the vote? Yes, they may be maybe 200, but is that going to change the face? The answer is no.
After this, it is safe to say that the call for ECL to return to active politics seems to be growing, gathering momentum in some circles of the society. The quick background is ECL already served for 7 years as Zambian Republican president and eventually lost an election in 2021. Now, those calls can only mean two things for those who have been following. Either the PF are admitting that they do not have leaders capable of taking over the presidency, like a leader who is influential enough to compete against 007. Or it's a sign of frustration that seems to be, lack of progress by the New Dawn government, and they feel, ECL was even a better president. I will leave those questions up to you to answer. But whichever way you're looking at this issue, it's not a wise move, okay? Bringing back ECL into active politics, okay? If I'm being honest with you, it's a terrible idea, if you ask me. To start with, he has already had a chance to make a contribution to the governance of this country and significantly played his part. There are a lot of things that he did that we also appreciate, other than things that we do not appreciate. The second issue is that he's like the only surviving former head of state, and therefore that makes him a senior statesman in our country. So that also means there is still like a big role he can play in the governance of the country. An example I'd give you is take, for instance, in a situation where we're in a crisis and we're experiencing mass discontent and people are protesting. Who do you think will be able to calm down, and help resolve the possible deadlock between government and its people? It could be ECL. Because going by our recent history, this country has has majority of people who are either for the ruling party, currently those people are called the praise singers, or for the opposition. Okay? And as things stand, most of those people who are opposed to the current government are either PF, Bamushani Nabwali, or those neutrals who are likely to stand against the government in terms of a deadlock. So whether you like it or not, this is where ECL comes in, okay? As a senior statesman, he has a voice enough to calm such opposition and ensure national interest rises above personal or partisan interest. The other reason why ECL should not even consider active politics is that it may just harm his legacy. Because coming back means he loses his retirement benefits. And also imagine him losing another election. It can really go down really bad, okay? Like a serious dent, like a loser, Anyone who claims, especially people that are around him, anyone who claims to love the former president should know that it is too high, a risk to take for very little to no additional benefit to ECL. He recently made a public appearance when, he escorted his son, Dali Solungu, to answer questions from the ACC. Well, he didn't talk about, him taking up active politics, but he still made some headlines.
Mythomania. Your Excellency, mythomania. The person who has got a propensity to lie. So it's actually a clinical thing. You can actually go to Chainama, you know, like Upper Chainama. They are doctors.
Is it running the family or running in political parties?
Not in the family.
It is usually related to Wakula, the background. Yeah, if you have grown up, even when in Wakula Wakota, you continue lying. It's mythomania. It affects everyone. Government, so that's why it is contagious.
It's an outbreak.
It is contagious, Your Excellency.
Your Excellency, there's a step to be careful.
Fiction. Fiction becomes the reality means you are in trouble.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, when you can marry the two.
Yeah, because I read that letter. That letter from His Grace, the emeritus professor, Papa, emeritus, saying lying.
Yeah. Iyo bali londa. Kwa hilo shedding. What he meant that itailafika po. Ababa alilonda fuel but itailafika po.
Na landa jumu kiboza wenye marinse.
Mkwa. And it's actually a sin. The Bible is very categorical about it. Acheche order.
So a lot of people have commented on that conduct by our former president in public. Now, Youth Senate Zambia president said he must make it clear if he wants to be back in active politics so that we can know how to address him as the opposition party leader as opposed to former president.
The only surviving head of state, former head of state, we look at him with that lens. But to see him yesterday display, political stance of that nature was quite disappointing, and that is where our disappointment was, and that's why we are saying if he has decided that he is not retiring, he still wants to play active politics. We are saying let him just make it plain, so that we change the lenses with which we look at him. We will now start addressing him as opposition, leader, or the PF president, since PF now doesn't seem to have a president anymore.
A lot of you may agree with us that apart from the effects which relate to ECO's influence and risks, the country needs, to be progressing. We need to be reaching out, for new ideas and also new style of leadership. We can't be going back to the same leaders and expecting new results unless we're foolish people, all right? I like to believe we're smart people. There's a lot of information and we're reading and we know what we need. We know what's good for us. Each leadership has got its own philosophy which greatly influences policy and the execution of programs. Let me tell you something. Why it's risky for a country to go back to a former leader, okay? He may still want to be implementing ideas which were good 5 years ago, but may not be good now. Well, I'm tempted to give CAD as an example, but maybe a bad example, right? Yeah. If I were ECL, I would not even entertain the thought. Telling him right now, Your Excellency, Mr. Edgar Chagolungu, the people inviting you back into politics, if they're already inviting you, if these are, if there's any truth, they are the same ones who told you that you could never lose an election. The same people who told you it's God himself who chose you to stand in 2021. For us, we could only advise, okay? We are sure there are some people out there who are thinking we're just making noise. What do we know? What do we know? Moving on, you may have followed the following story. The outspoken Patriotic Front PF presidential hopeful Chimbaka Mbwili was recently arrested and jointly charged with Charles Kakula, the man who led a protest march to Mr. Kambwili's house on January 26th this year. Police said they were detained for the offense of unlawful assembly, contrary to Section 74, read together with Section 75 of the Penal Code, Chapter 87 of the laws of Zambia. Now, after spending a night in a holding cell, here's what Dr. Kambwili said.
When I said that this detention is suspicious, because I didn't understand why they were looking for me like a common criminal. Little did I know that they had planted a snake. But thank God that we now know that when you go to the Akainde hostel, first and foremost, you must look for a snake. Thank you very much. That's all I can say.
Now, the arrest of Dr. Kambwili and the subsequent transfer to a remote police post where he was actually, it was alleged that he shared a police cell with a snake should worry all of us. Let's for a second, put away the charge and just focus on the selection of the holding cell itself. If you have followed the trends, it's customary that police would deal with cases based on where the offense occurred, right? If you have followed some of these big stories. Now, quick question is, did CK commit the alleged offense near Balmoral area? You know the answer. Because what's in the public domain is that the offense was actually committed at his home, which is like maybe some 50 kilometers to the police post where he was actually being held. Now, when you look at all these things, from a different angle, you may start wondering if this is actually a deliberate move by the Zambia police to mete out some of the punishment on suspects before the court can actually pronounce itself on the matter. Now, I get this. For ordinary citizens, you may be thinking, it may be easy for you to ignore. Some of these are form of extrajudicial punishments because you think, oh, well, it can only happen to the politicians. It might not happen to me. But if we let this culture, if we encourage it to grow in our servicemen, it can end up being bad. Just look at their behavior in the Chipani regime. Innocent protesters, students or anybody, were actually being met with live bullets. You and I know that we lost a lot of lives. We cannot let that behavior go. We have to question, we have to ask questions, pertinent questions. Our officers need to operate not just within the confines of the law, but also within ethical norms. Punishments of offenders should just be left to the courts. We know this. They are the only institution mandated to give out punishments. We all have duty to defend and protect our constitution and other laws. My encouragement to the men and women in uniform, our law enforcement officers, is that you should try and apply the law with great restraint. Not to say that politicians are special people or they're more important than ordinary citizens, but be careful on how you handle these politicians. You may not like CK today or Chirufya Tahari today, because first of all, you will never know who becomes president tomorrow. Some of your friends used to tear gas current president when he was still in a position. Everybody says he could never be president. People said other Tongas would be president, but not that Tonga. Can you imagine how difficult it was when they got the news, when government changed, that he was now president? The duty is on you, officers. Lead the way in ensuring that this country is actually governed in accordance to the laws we have made for ourselves. And that all rights and freedoms are accorded to all citizens fairly and equitably. Okay? The way you would like to be treated. The way I would like to be treated. And what's disappointing is that civil rights activist Brenna Changala linked State House Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of special duties, Fanuel Siandenge, to the arrest of Chimba Kambwili. So Mr. Changala said some police officers have actually a bone to chew with people in the former ruling party, whom they accuse of having perpetrated their misery when they lost their employment in the Zambia police service.
I am fully convinced that this malpractice, abuse of power, is being engineered from State House. We are having a challenge here that two senior constables, the IG being the #1 constable and Siandenge #2 constable, have issues with the previous regime and the previous politicians. Mr. Siandenge went into hiding as a fugitive, came back as a hero. IG was retired in national interest, brought back because they were victimized, quote unquote. And they have a point to prove that they are in charge. And they are proving their point wrongly by reducing the parameters of the freedom of association, freedom of communication.
So the point to note here is that our Republican president, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, has said it time and again that this country will actually be governed based on the rule of law. And of course, they have done some strides, you know that, you've been seeing that, in restoring sanity in our country. But if any of all this is true, that people are actually sending people to go and harass people and all that, the conduct by some of the police officers is going to dent the image of the president and the UPND. Okay? Like I said, what do we know? And the only way Zambian people are able to fight back when they start noticing these things and they start counting down, they'll start counting down to the 12th of August, 2026. And if you think I'm playing and I'm just talking too much, it looks very far. Okay? It did look very far for the PF. But if you ask them, that date eventually came to pass. It will do. It will come to pass. Last week, we reported to you that Patriotic Front PF suspended its material member of parliament, Miles Sampa, from the party's central committee and from taking part in any of the party activities for 6 weeks. That statement was given by the then acting party president, Given Luminda, who banned Mr. Sampa from participating and attending any party meetings during the said period. Well, it turns out Miles Sampa went to court and the court ruled in his favor. After the judgment, Miles, who is also a PF presidential hopeful, had a lot to say about his political party members as well as his party. So we'll leave you with part of his feed. Until next time.
Beliefs. So, those that you trust, ask the same drunkard master, Chilangwa, to replace you. Because those are the people that have been lying about me, and Honorable Luminda believed them. Unfortunately, even when we were in power, those were lying about me as mayor, and the president then, Edgar Lungu, believed them. There is this party called PF. We all arrived there, or a village called PF. We all arrived there, and as a member, all of us as 1% share. Everybody, even the one who joined yesterday. I was there since 2001. 2015, whatever happened. New people arrived. According to them, PF started in 2015. They came and harassed the likes of me out of PF, frustrated me out. Then I came back after 2-3 years. The same people now are saying, we did you a favor. So you go, you come from the village, you come at a home, you find children there. You yourself, you frustrate that child out, and you stay there. And then they come back like a prodigal son, they come back 2 years later. Then you who came from the village start saying, I've done you a favor to come back. That's what I get every day. We did you a favor.